Hey fam, cousins, all of the above, loved ones. I'm at work at my government job, and I was just thinking about the conversation that Destiny and I had, and there was so much to it. And I just felt like very worried that there wasn't something tangible to take away from the conversation. I know conversations around things like race, gender, sexuality, and the nuances that we are as human beings can feel overwhelming and can leave you like, okay, but I want like active points to take away so I can put them into practice. And it's really hard. Like, how do you contextualize the things that have been kind of over time, over generations, um, been created into decontextualization? So things like microaggressions, um, and just this feeling of being afraid to have the conversations around um, diversity. And it's really time that we start getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, and being able to hold that space together. So I wanted to, I'll put some links in the chat. And I was so grateful for Destiny to hold this conversation with me again. It was such a joy every time I get to be around her. I just feel like I'm deepening my love for her, and it's such a joy. So here are some of the takeaways um, that I thought might be helpful to some of y'all who are organizing or in businesses and ready to do this work. So one, ask yourself, how is my organization doing the work now to build a foundation of being able to hold the nuances of a team that reflects that diversity in everyday life. So before you start hiring, people of color, or people that like have experiences outside of your own and outside of your team, how are you actively putting things into place to make sure that those people um, are coming into a place where that can be addressed, are coming into a place where you're going to be honest and accountable um, about things that are going to go wrong, because things are going to go wrong. And this isn't about avoiding those things. Those are about facing those things with love and with this brave space, from this brave space, right? So that's one. And then also, the second thing, and these are just a couple things also, be open about pay and reciprocity. What, like, we in Western society have this thing about not talking about how much we are being paid, or not talking about even like, okay, I need some type of thing from back from this. So like, being open about pay, talking about pay openly in the workplace, not shunning that, and not having when you're hiring people on, pay being like this negotiation where you feel like you're walking into a battle. How do you create that space? I'm curious. Maybe y'all can comment about how you're doing that with Sunseed Community. It was really about saying, how, like, do your research. Like, how much do you think that you need to be making to comfortably sustain yourself? Um, and how much on average are people making in your field? Um, and so it was like a nice practice for us, so that when we're out getting our government jobs, we can like feel more confident about talking to our employers about, like, look, this is how much I'm worth, and I know my value, and it shouldn't have to be quantified, but because it has to be quantified in this capitalistic society, this is how we're going to do it. So that's two. And I feel like that's really radical, to be open about pay and also be talking about it outside, like that transparency with your clients and things like that, about how much you're being paid too. That's really radical. And then the third thing is practice over policy. So ask yourself, how is my organization actively incorporating policies that dismantle capitalism, productivity, and respectability politics? So are you actively investing in hiring like BIPOC, queer people to hold workshops, regular workshops, not those like quick 10-minute before we get to the real meeting things, but are you hiring people on to do regular workshops, setting aside the time to do the labor of actually having these really tough conversations? Because again, emotions and who a whole person is going to step into the workplace with them. We can no longer check parts of ourselves at the door, because when we do that, we're holding back on certain our creativity. We're holding back on what ideas and innovations that are going to really change how we operate in community. So we need all of ourselves in our workplace. That's so important. So, are you actively investing in these things? So, ask yourself those three questions, and think about maybe how to apply those in like a personal way too. So, instead of asking yourself about your organization, how you're kind of planting seeds to make your organization this like healthy emergent being that it is, how are you also caring for yourself and practicing going to workshops around dismantling whiteness, anti-blackness, and anti-queerness, and all of these things? Are you doing that on a regular basis? Are you expecting that this labor be done by BIPOC people? In workplaces, we're constantly asked as Black people and people who are assumed to be femme to actually do this extra project that we think you'll be great for, that's really just about us creating a workshop to give to present to our white coworkers, and have to do the labor of dealing with their issues with racism and white supremacy, and that's not our job. That's not what we were hired to do. And also, it can re-traumatize us because we're asked to hold this space for people that we're supposed to be working together with, you know? It takes on this kind of like mentality of caretaking that isn't our job to do. So those are some things to think about. I'll also link some resources that I found really helpful. And again, Sunseed Community does a workshop called the Inner Wisdom Keeper that starts with the self. We learn how to center ourselves and find our inner truth, so that when we're faced with uncomfortable conversations around race and queer phobia and things of that nature, we're able to come in from like this centered and well-nourished place, so that we're operating from a place of being resourced, so that when we're triggered, we're not going to immediately to our trauma response. And then we go into generationally how we've been trained to hold certain truths that no longer serve us. And then we go into how to show up in the here and now for BIPOC people, because we so quickly step from being these people coming from different backgrounds with different dogmas and beliefs that no longer serve us, to having to be these heroes and stepping into these like martyrdom situations of like putting ourselves out there on the front lines, but we're not equipped with enough resources to really nourish ourselves and like step into that place knowing that like we still are working on things ourselves. So that's what the Inner Wisdom Keeper series is all about. There's also some courses from people that inspire me that I'll be linking. So with that, this is a quick, not so quick video that I hope adds to the conversation. Thank you. This has been an honor. Much joy, y'all.